And we all want it. Power, that is, we all crave it. We all, for the most part, work for it, or we avoid it, give it away, run it, and we can do either in different situations.
We're all power and we're all powerful, but it's when you don't know it yourself, you don't know that.
And when we look for it out there, like look for the power to accumulate it out there, um, it's empty. Then you've got to try and find more of it, and that turns into different things, turns into ugly things.
Yeah,
It's so it's like there's two different distinctions for power, from the world, from the outside power to the internal power. I think one is about control, the other one is about peace and joy, collaborative together.
that's what the inner power ignites. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like we have to activate ourselves, through uh, careful choice. That you, we all it. We just have to align. Just have to allow.
Yeah, and find it inside of us. Find that
Mm-hmm.
power place, right? That peaceful power of love, of joy, of kindness, of compassion,
Mm-hmm.
empathy,
Yep.
allowing others to be themselves.
They are destroying our inner power, by changing, science and history and the Bible and everything. They're messing us up so that they can control us.
Yeah, we can do
But
some
we have the choice.
amazing things to maintain control.
Yeah. If you don't control yourself, somebody else will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the amazing thing about the inner journey is all the things you find out about yourself.
Yes. When you allow yourself to see it,
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
we don't realize how big our defenses are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's difficult, is to start putting those defenses down and be vulnerable to the what we see as harshness out there. But again, that's just giving our power to out there. So that harshness, when we say, oh, that we're meaning that they're doing something to us.
Mm.
And our history has been that. So I'm not saying the fear is not valid. I'm just saying it's a different time. The fear is not as needed as it because times are changing. And the power is in the masses of peace and love. I think that's the big rising we're seeing through the world.
Yes. It is all really messed up, and we are messed up, and it takes work. It takes hard work to dive into ourselves and so that we can be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, and find out where we were wrong,
Hmm.
misguided.
Yeah. Misled, misguided. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
definitely. Yeah, that's why I love being here at your meetings and where we got to explore. It's a good exercise.
We get to explore we get to explore listening,
Hmm.
speaking. Um, listening to not only what others say, but what we say in response to others.
It's a skill. It takes
Yeah,
practice, and it's a needed skill. For us in order to uh, within uh, sorry uh, communities. How to
hmm
communicate, and people don't know how. It's all fuck you and bitch and whore, and that is not communicating.
no, no, that's limiting, constraining, restricting, and that turns into, uh, and that becomes life.
Mm. But you see, when I go for a drive with my kids and they play a song from their playlist or from the radio. It's all the language now is it's so polluted, or how to say it, low frequency.
Yeah,
It's everywhere.
everywhere.
The kids are bombarded with that kind of. Yeah. It's have
The
to see
song
how sorry, Brian.
song rarely have a deeper meaning.
Mm.
It's just one way of looking at it, the one they are singing about. It's not like when you heard Pink Floyd or anything. It depends on
Mm.
who's listening, what you get from the music. It was much more art. It was something you could talk about.
The words don't have more meaning. You know, the songs don't have the meanings like they used to have.
No?
Good morning, Pascal.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Morning,
Morning,
Pascal.
morning. You guys are,
Yeah.
it seems like you're talking about opening your senses. Is
Mhm.
that right?
Yeah.
Sense the power.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Like what we're doing here, we're creating power, but it's not for anyone to keep. It's for everyone to share it.
It's to release it, right? To amplify it and to grow with it, not in power in a whole different way than control.
It's like everything else. When it's expanding, it's growing. When you want to keep it, it's contracting. You put a limit on power then.
Yeah, so Pascal, it's like opening our power.
Yeah, like allowing our power too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good one.
Sensing our power, sensing when we're surrendering it, giving it away, giving it to others, giving it to the world, or when we're using it appropriately because it can be used either way because it's always a contrast. And we're talking about the ways that we were led, guided, taught to really give our power away is our history and how that can and how that just leaves it empty, trying to fill it with more.
Fill it of more of what?
More of the
More,
empty.
more power.
Yeah, so we do something else or do the same thing, and there's never really a pause or a stop to say, well, that's not working.
Right.
Let me change my whole orientation. That's not an obvious thing we say. We say, oh, I must be doing it wrong.
And power is all about the perspective we put into it. What do we see power as? Power is like everything else. It's an energy.
Mm,
It
most
can
of the
be positive.
people within the power, you know, they want power over other people.
Yeah. They want more power. More power.
Yeah, oh yeah, control.
They want to rule. They want their ego to be right all the time.
Yeah. Then again, back to how lucky we are to have this meetings
And
with
then it is
Yeah,
like-minded. Well, yeah, sorry.
yeah, it's the more power to get
yeah.
take more control, but that can never work. You know, you can't have like always control. You're always gonna lose some and gain some. And that's why like you always search for it. when you're reaching out.
We have a small group who control a larger group. They're doing that through deception, through lies, manipulation, programming, all kind of stuff.
Yeah. But now it's like, as people are waking up and waking up, like, people cannot be controlled.
Right.
You know, when you wake up, like, you can't be like, yeah, take my arm, do whatever you want with it. It's okay. You know, like, I'm fine. You know, you can't anymore. Like, you know, like, you're like, no, you can't. You're not going to touch me. You're not going to put me in prison. The only way I'm going to put, the only way I'm going to put myself in prison is do it myself. And we do it with thoughts and or emotion and
And then they used it's only because the law is made that way. Well, who made the law?
yeah.
And they, when it doesn't fit them, they make new laws. And who don't obey the laws, they don't.
Yeah.
And then they use the excuse, do as I say, not as I do.
And that erodes trust. And
Yep.
But that's their virtual reality. You know, we can create our own by
yeah,
by doing the opposite. You know, by live, by create, by choose our own path.
Well, we always create our own.
Mhm.
Now we're just aware of it.
and once it's out of the bag, you can't put it back in the bag.
Yeah. I had that experience before. You buy something and then like it's all folded nicely and stuff, and then like say a sleeping bag, right, for camping, and then like, wow, the bag is nice and everything, right? And then like you try to fold it, and then like for some reason it doesn't fit in there.
No.
I doesn't want to go back in the bed.
When you finally get it in, it doesn't look as nice as it did when you got it. All lumpy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what does looks matter, right? How much emphasis we put on how it looks, right? There's our senses again, right? Opening up our senses. Oh, I heard it this way. That could also mean this. When we look at it this way and the other way, oh, it just gives so much room. Our tendency is just to stop at the first one. This is what that means. This is what I heard, and let our history run with that one spot.
This is how I was told it should be.
Yeah, that's not being aware. That's not opening the senses. That's not allowing space. And that's how most of us live our lives. That's how I lived my life. And how do I know? Is because I would fight for my position, for my thinking, for my listening. I
And
would
how we
judge
fought.
others for what they said. Sorry, G.
It was me. How we
Oh,
fought how to
fine.
fit into that bag again to be perfectly nicely folded and having our own space as we saw it as, but it wasn't actually our space. The bag wasn't us. It was the limitations
Mhm.
created by others. Their perspective of how we should look.
And it seems like we'll look outside for how it should be, and then we look inside for how we're wrong, how we don't measure up. And just that view of it is a never ending, never satisfied, and never working structure.
Yeah, because in my opinion, it didn't start from the right place.
Yep.
No, they started with a lie and then they based everything upon the lie. So it can never be anything but a lie. They might have rewrote the way you should look at the rules, but it's still based on the same thing as it was the first time. Someone's perspective.
I think we have to keep on working with ourselves daily. You know, putting the right thoughts and right attention every day.
Yeah, because we put a lifetime of the other ones first.
So thought is energy. You know, we're energy, and
Yeah.
so we have to practice making the energy work for us rather than against us.
Yeah.
It's important every day to have a mental house cleaning, you know, and a moral house cleaning, and because we are bombarded daily, with their story of the world.
Mhm. Extremely powerful for ourselves when we do it. And many people so far, are unwilling to see any value in it.
It takes hard work, It takes dedication.
It's definitely uneasy, unsettling, disturbing, uncomfortable.
Hmm. Yeah,
Many
but they
people,
don't see
once
that
they reach,
reward.
many people, when they reach their level, they think, oh, I can just stop here. Well, you're going to keep on working on it, or you'll
Yeah,
deteriorate again.
exactly.
Yeah, and rather than a lifetime, it becomes a like a moment by moment cleansing, a moment by moment realigning.
Yeah, when we practice it daily, it becomes habitual.
Mhm.
Becomes who we are.
That's right.
Hmm.
And so life becomes like a meditation,
Mm.
which is like the most powerful control we can have is, oh, that happened, huh? How do I want to respond to it?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it all comes down to our own choice.
Yep, that's the freedom.
Whether we choose change or not. You know, a lot of people they want this and want that, but they don't want to change.
Mm, yes.
You have to choose change first. That is the first step, and choose change.
And if change
You have
is,
to change. Sorry.
if you, if change is about to happen, you need to change something about yourself, even if it's just your perspective.
Yeah, it's an internal process, and you have to change yourself internally. I wish I knew this when I was 18 or 19.
Yep. But then we wouldn't know what we know now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it I think it's been a unfolding, a generational unfolding.
Mm.
And
This is
maybe
the big shift.
even, yeah, even all our lifetimes, right? All our generational lifetimes slowly open the door wider and wider, and momentum picks up, so it goes faster and faster.
Mm. Exactly.
But life is funny that way. You gotta live it from the front to the back, but you gotta understand it from the back to the front.
Our tendency is we get confronted with something, we say, oh, I don't do that, and it's done. You won't ever look at it any farther. Because there's no need to. You just told yourself you don't do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you spell yourself.
What's that, Pascal?
You spell yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no exploring. Well, oh, maybe what would it look like if I did do that? Just
Different.
feel the space that's opened up with that wondering question. Oh, what would it mean if I was giving my power away? Huh. I wonder where I do that. Who do I grant authority to? Huh. I wonder what my pattern is for that. I wonder what it is. I wonder what my pattern is when I look for the answer, the joy, the missing piece out there. Huh. I wonder what that is for me. Rather, we say, oh no, I don't do that. I don't give my power away. I'm right. I know what I'm
But we,
doing. Gucci.
I was just thinking that most of the time, most of the people they got tricked to believe that they gave their power away.
Yeah, I don't tricked. I don't know about tricked. I say yes. It's mm, yeah, I can say we use it that way, but it is like how we protected or justified our wounding, our hurt as a child.
Mm.
So it just becomes a story that we never look at.
Then they got that belief that we gotta fight to get our power back. Well, who are you gonna fight? It's
Yeah,
your own choice. You don't need to fight to change your
If,
choices.
if if you're constantly looking at the past, I know from myself. If you look at it as hurt and pain, and you classified it as hurt and pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you start
That's
to see
where,
this, yes, sorry, Jesse.
no, keep going.
No, if you start to see it as a lesson learned, as yes, something positive, it's much more. Yeah, I cannot think. Yeah, rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
just
all that hurt and pain, we put up those defenses and we don't want to go into it. Yet the
Mm-hmm.
reward is inside that hurt and pain.
Yes.
The reward is releasing it when we work through it, when we see it for what it
Yes.
was or what it
Yes.
is rather than what we made it up to be. And I think the greatest indicator is what are we urged to fight? What do we want to fight? That's where the greatest rewards are. Because if
Yeah,
we're
that
all
means there's a
energy,
huge program buried
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Mm.
a huge ball of energy that's just wanting to be released.
Yeah.
But that's how they portrayed history. It's most about pain, suffering.
Yeah. And always the winner's point of view.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Things has always
Okay.
been changing. It's, now even faster than ever.
That's right. History's always one-sided. One perspective, right? It's not both perspectives or multiple perspectives. It's one perspective.
It's always changing, but people they live, through their fake history. This is my land. This is your land. Get out of my land. Yeah. My religion says that this is my land, or my grandfather says this is my land, or whatever.
Deep down, it says, I'm right, which means you must be wrong. So we're
Mm-hmm.
always looking for where I'm right, and then I'm always listening and judging or poking where you're wrong. That's just tug of war. And you think like tug of war, you spend all this effort and don't ever get anywhere.
Just like like just like when we're fighting with our wives, we're sinking the hole even deeper.
Yeah, dig a
We're
deeper
digging our
hole, huh,
own
Pascal?
grave.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Your wife just doesn't say you're right, Pascal?
No, no, no. Not usually. No, 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 no.
You
But
just
when
don't
she's
say
right,
you're
when
right?
she's right, she tells you though. Yeah.
Mm.
I thought it was just my wife that does that.
So
Yeah,
you
it's
just
part of
surrenders. You
I just
surrender and say
surrender.
she's right, huh?
That's it. That's it. Yeah. I
it.
put
There's
my
so
hands
much
in the
program.
arm and be like, I walked away. I'm like, yeah,
The roles,
battle's over.
between men and sorry, sorry, Pascal.
No. Like I just said like, yeah, I walked away. I put my hands in the air, and then I say, yeah, you just got the bottom of this garbage. You can have it. Yeah.
All this,
Yeah.
the different roles we're playing in the man, woman, husband, wife.
We can always agree with others as long as you can say it's according to them. Then you sort of give away the responsibility even.
Oh, but that's so hard.
Well, when you say it's according to them, that doesn't mean you agree, but you don't want to fight for it.
That's right. I know I just want to prove I'm right when I know I'm right.
Yeah.
And how do you know you are right?
It's in the email. It's in the material, the information I read. There's a little statement that says or. That's how I know I'm right.
Someone told me. Yeah. I read it somewhere.
That's right. It's the rule.
The law of man, not the law of nature. Hmm.
Yeah, I just had that yesterday. It was, and me and the wife, and we were we were both like arguing, not arguing, but it was getting to the point, and it was just like, okay, yep, not a big deal. Like it didn't matter. We were just trying to figure out like how many it was, and it was like in our own, and I could go look for myself rather than we would much rather argue between us, and it's like, okay, silly me.
And it shows that none of you
No, I was right.
were right.
I was right. I'm not gonna let that one go. Ah,
And then when
good morning,
she found out
Allison.
it was wrong, and she said, "Why didn't you tell me so?"
Oh no, that'll never
Good morning,
happen.
Alison.
Morning, Alison.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
I'm so
morning.
glad you're still here. Good morning, Pascal.
Yeah,
Well, we're
my wife
glad
called
you're
me
here.
4 times. Yeah,
Sorry, Chi.
my wife called me 4 times this morning within 20 minutes or something, trying to tell me something. But she never got to say anything because the first time she called me, she, she said that that I didn't heard her say hello, and vice versa. Then yeah, it's just funny. Why not telling me the first time, instead of calling
Mhm.
4 times and not. But she wanted to be right, that it was me first time she called that didn't say hello.
Yeah, our pride is a painful thing. Those defenses.
That it doesn't have to be that way, She just say it. What do you want to say?
Fear, safety, control. It's one of them,
Mm.
and it's hard to remember it. Allison gently points it out to me. Oh, yeah, you're right. Eventually.
It's very easy to point it out to other people.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And it's really easy to say, oh yeah, okay, just for today, at least for today, even though I'm right, I'm not gonna say I'm right. I'm just gonna let the other person do the thing, right?
Mm.
Like it's easy to say right now, but then when it gets in a situation, be like, no, 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 no. It cannot happen. I worked so hard on this thing. I'm definitely right.
And usually we're not even talking about the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is. It's like, oh, that's my experience and that's your experience. That's all that it is.
Mm.
And we like to make it like a sandpaper between it. And the more that we can settle ourselves so that it's not sandpaper, that it's, oh, whoever said it earlier, it's like, oh, that's your experience. Oh, and here's my experience.
Mm.
Oh, let's let that be and let's move on. Great.
That's the fault. You shouldn't tell what your experience is of it. That just adds fuel to the fire.
Well, it shouldn't.
Yeah, it's like we have two different type of sandpaper, but we haven't even decided like the sand belt yet. So it's never gonna match.
That's a good analogy, Pascal.
Jesse came up with it. He
Oh,
started it.
You just pulled out the power sander. I mean, come, that's good.
Yeah. Maybe I got some sanding to do.
If you're married, you do. You always do.
that's very true. That's very true.
What is your perspective, Allison, on being right? I'd like to
Well,
hear. Yeah.
I don't think it's any different to what has been spoken just in these last few minutes. My experience of being right is that sometimes if you put it this way, if you've been in a marriage where the power has always been exerted by the other person, and you've tried to come at it from an empathic and compassionate perspective, that person's capacity for that person's need for control is so tight, and their nervous system is so tightly wound around, as Jesse said, that need to be right, because that then feels comfortable, right? It's a defense. And you then start to
Thank you.
you start to rebel against it in a way. You get angry. And so that's my experience of being right. It's just so fatigued of not having emotional sharing and emotional collaboration.
There are different kinds
So
of
you
right.
get, yes,
If there's only
I
one way
guess
to get
so.
the answer, there's only one way of being right. Elsewise, it's just a different view of perspectives.
Say a little bit more, Heinz,
Well,
if you
if you
can.
only have, if it only goes with a one-way street, you can get down there. There's only one right way to drive the car. But if you can drive around the
Yeah,
block and get to the same place, it's a different perspective of what's right and what's wrong. It's how you look the trip to be, how you think the trip should be. And we all take different trips. So it's all a different perspective. Being right is just one perspective. It's it's not
yes,
sometimes there's only right and wrong, but most of the time there are a lot of possibilities for the right answer.
that that's right. And I mean, for myself personally, in terms of emotional sharing, because I've been able to now separate emotional sharing and sharing of what is beautiful.
Mm.
I can do that, and I can
Mind if I just
get a lot from that, you know. But I've had to mourn that what for me I consider to be a loss of emotional collaboration with somebody.
Thank you.
And and then just value all the other things that are demonstrations of a shared perspective on things. But I think mostly it's just that appreciation of beauty.
Yeah, I think being right is so important for us because we're so far down of who we think we are and who we really are. If we would really know, like embody of who we really are, it wouldn't really matter. Being right,
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
But because we want to feel significant, worthy, then we want to be right.
That's right. And what I often think, I mean, it's the one thing that pulled me out of my inner critic was when I thought to myself, how, if I, on an intellectual level, am recognizing that we're all connected and that life is as astounding as it is, how on earth can I be criticizing what I am? You know, it felt like that there was a disconnect for me. And that's when I started to be able to drop into acceptance. But I mean, you guys have heard and seen me get defensive about things. So everybody, we all have our shit. The important thing is being able to observe and detach. Because ultimately, even when you get what you want and you go and look at how that came about, you don't really like the way in which you've behaved. And that's not such a nice feeling. I hope that answers something, Pascal. Hi,
Sorry?
Mona. I hope that answers something.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of fighting through life versus allowing life to go through.
Yes, absolutely.
Fighting to keep the power instead of sharing it.
Or instead of hearing the need for the other person to have it all the time. And I think there is a point at which you have to then decide whether you want to live with that or not. Because unless you are really, really, really evolved, and unless you dedicate yourself then to using that in a marriage as your impetus in a way to evolve, if you make that decision, then you can get, you you can be and you can remain in that marriage. And I think there are other ways in which you can use things to evolve. Life brings enough of it to our doorstep, I believe. Because at some point, I mean, for me, that's what I recognize, is that since I was young, I have a sixth sense for a grab of power for the sake of power.
Mhm.
And I have a very strong what would it be? Sense of rebellion, dislike. And I can be patient with it for a long time. And then my patience just all of a sudden very quickly runs out. So that's a pattern that I have to work on. And
yeah, I got a similar pattern because I'm Scorpio. Well, I would say because I'm Scorpio, but I don't know if it has anything to do with it. But like, I can be really good guy, the best guy ever, and then I'll take a lot, one thing after the other. But eventually, like, it gets the tail, and
yes,
then it comes out deadly. Like there's nothing beauty that's coming out of it.
Just like the coin and the glass of water, you can keep on putting one coin in, but when it flows over, it really flows over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good observation, Pascal.
Yeah, it's when I start reading about my sign, I was just like, oh, wait a minute. That is just me.
Yeah. It's really interesting how accurate I find personally that the description of character in astrology is. And it's complex because it's not just your sun sign, right? It's your rising and your moon that play very big parts in your blueprint, as it were. And what's nice about it is that it shows you what coordinates you have to overcome. So it kind of lays the path out for you. How are you today, Mona?
I'm doing well, thank you. I was listening to y'all on YouTube, and then for some reason my YouTube switched it to something else, so I thought I'd listen in this way.
Yay.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes.
You are welcome.
It's nice to hear y'all and your different perspectives on all the topics you're talking about.
the being right topic.
Is sharing our power, not holding on to it.
Mm.
As long as you don't tell me I'm wrong, we're good.
Well, that's a different way to look at it. You can say, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
I like what you said before more, Heinz, although this last one is funny. But sharing the power, right?
Yeah. That's how we get it to grow and expand.
Exactly.
The answer to the question is some of this stuff has really resonated with me, especially this thing about being right. Even when I know I'm right, I try not to, how do I put this? I try not to pound that in onto somebody else. I've discovered by asking questions, they figure it out for themselves.
Hey, Mona, I'm going to give you a few phone numbers so you can give a call to a few people and explain that to them. Are you up for the challenge?
Sure, why not? One of the worst questions I can ask, and it really brings them right to point. So how's that working out for you? Let me tell you something, that question that way will piss somebody off faster than a body reaction without you knowing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why I was interested in Chris's program, so I could ask those questions and not piss people off. Because when you ask it that way, their stuff comes up really front and center, and they just really don't like that.
People don't like if you're direct.
No. They like the lies that they tell themselves.
Yeah.
And then want something different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They love their illusion.
Yes. I'm gonna go silent for a second.
I'm not happy, but you're the problem.
Say it that way, you give away your choice. The choice to be happy.
You give away your responsibility.
And you give your power too.
Yep.
You're telling it someone else. It's someone else. That
It's
makes you
interesting.
unhappy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because there's a lot of frustration that goes along with that, right? And frustration it's like a litmus test. If you're frustrated with something, it means you want something to change. And then you've got to decide, is the change going to, are you going to try and make the external change, which takes an enormous amount of energy, or are you going to change inside, which is way more in your control? And you have more options.
And
Tell
to ask
me,
yourself, why do you want to change? What's the core motivator behind the change?
Yeah, what is it that you want? And that's why I say sometimes in a marriage, that becomes a critical question to the extent that you then have to decide whether you are going to stay, how you're going to stay, or whether you're going to leave. Knowing that the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side, but recognizing to what extent the grounding, to what extent the ground that you're in a marriage provides possibility for you. And for me, the two things that are not, they're not necessarily just two, but two very important things are emotional connection and collaboration. It's a huge part of a marriage.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm working with somebody who is trying to decide whether or not to leave her husband because they're not connecting anymore.
Mm.
And the more that they address this with their husband's like, I'm happy in my trauma and my drama.
Mm.
So what do you say to that? You know, what kind of
Mm.
advice do you give to that? Because I can't make up her, I cannot tell her what to do. That is a huge
Mm-mm.
decision, and she has to figure it out for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Again, then she doesn't have to involve herself in the drama and the trauma. It's his to solve. It's his to live with.
What
But if
happened is she got into a growth program and she outgrew him.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
that's really what happened.
Mm.
She's done some, and she has a kid, and so that kind of complicates things a little bit because adults are not very good at being adults when they go through these things.
Mm.
tell me what the guy said again.
He's happy being in his trauma and his drama.
Yes, so he just wants a mama.
Yeah.
Very good, Jess.
Very good. I will tell her
That's
that.
exactly it. Yeah. Yep. And then furious when mama isn't being a mama.
No, she's starting to be a little bit more independent, and she's starting to know her own self. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there's a lack of respect when boundaries are set too.
Mm.
He's very much acting like a 5-year-old, testing mother's patience.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what worked. That's how he got love.
Mm.
So
That's how he got love. So in all
So the
reality, of course.
So the wife wants to work through that, or like she's done,
well,
or
she wants to make sure she gives it every chance that she can give it.
Yeah.
oh,
She doesn't want to walk away with going, did I do everything I could do? She's also not really prepared, and I don't think the way she talks, I don't think she's financially prepared to be on her own because she hasn't really thought it through. She just knows what she wants.
Mm.
And to a certain degree, there are certain steps you have to take when you get yourself involved in that. The other thing is with with the husband being the way he is, he's going to make it so it's mother's fault. that things are going wrong. Yeah,
Blame.
I can see that from the way she talks about their relationship.
Mm.
His fault.
Because when I make certain comments to it, like he's acting like a 5-year-old, she agrees. And it's like, but she doesn't realize it until I say something, and a little light goes on.
It's okay. It'll take her a little bit of time, Mona, but she's a quick learner, right?
Yeah, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
She's a
Just like
hairdresser, and her clients tell her all the time that doing what she's doing, she's wasting herself. So
They
they
know how
see
to talk.
something in her. She worries about being able to influence people and being able to connect with people on Zoom because she knows she can do it in person.
one with the light that when you tell her, it's just like Allison and Jesse talked about earlier. When when Jesse said Allison could see it, yeah, it's easier to see from a outside point of view. Way easier.
Mm. Mm.
I want to be able to be that outside point of view without crossing the line of telling her what to do.
Mm.
Yes.
But it sounds like you're managing very well to do that, Mona.
Yeah.
Yes, because of the intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point. Very good point.
That's front and center with your dancing. So you're running your advice through that.
Mm.
And one way to do it is to slightly take a position. You don't have to announce it, but just know that there's a slight position that you can take, which would be in the direction of what they would want. For
And
example,
that's been the big question for her. What do you want?
yeah. And I was talking, your position could be to what it is the current situation is staying together. So your position is to hold it together so that when she starts to go, you're bringing it back to keeping it together. And that's the decision point that's where you're not influencing the decision.
I see what you're saying.
Mm.
Because then you're challenging her decision to get away from it, right? And it's like then people have to think it through. But you're not also advocating to stay there. I mean, you're just you're anchoring a decision.
Yeah.
Giving her possibilities.
Yep. And anchoring it in what currently is.
Mm.
Mm. And what
Could
comes to
be.
me? Sorry, Jessica.
No, that's it. Just is and what could be, right? Because there's always that could be if we're looking forward.
Yes. And in that, we are facilitating the preparation of the ground.
Mhm. The husband has to decide if he wants his mother or his wife. That's his choice.
Yep.
He can have both, just not the same, just not one. He can have both, not one. It is it's a tough thing for males that uh, yeah just because
Sorry
I
to
know
laugh.
I'm a male. And where did we learn love?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what marriage is supposed to be, is love?
Mm.
What is love to you then?
Well,
That's the big question.
mhm.
Yeah.
That goes unexamined. That is
Mm.
just assumed because we say, I love you.
Mm.
Like it's this magical thing that appears. Oh, it does. When mom's around. There's got to be different degrees of this thing. Just can't be one. Can't be the same one for all of you.
And then what is love built on?
Mhm.
Respect,
Food on the
comfort.
table, clean clothes to get into, my bed made, a clean house and toilet. I mean, getting me wherever I need to be. I mean, that's what love is.
Yeah.
Keep
It
searching.
centers it centers around me. I am the center of the universe. Anyone want to marry that? You know what you get is you get someone that says, "Oh, I can change that."
Oh, yes.
We see how that works out, don't we?
Because this is what my daddy did.
Yep.
That's just like my dad. So you can ask her if she wants to keep married to her daddy. Because it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
How much fun was that? Sick cycles we get ourselves in.
Mm.
And then we choose to stay there.
Yep. That's the unfortunate part.
Mm.
Is that we say it's easier to stay in them.
Mm. Not realizing how much constriction there is in that structure.
Yep. It's like committing to be a 5-year-old.
Mm.
And not in a good way.
If we're
Mm.
committing to that, then the other part has to commit to being on the mommy's side.
Yeah.
So again, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Once one of them change their perspective, the other one has to change it also.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you, Mona, for sharing, for bringing that up. That was food for thought. There's so many parallel similarities to my own situation, and I enjoyed today very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you, Chief.
Have a
Glad to
great
help
day,
you. Have a
Chief.
nice day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna go to. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
I'm glad I made it.
You have a blessed day.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Jesse,
Yeah.
how's things going at home? Smoothing out?
Yep.
Good deal. I haven't heard you really speak of it lately, so I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Mending, building. Yeah. Healing.
Well, that's kind of how muscles work.
Yep.
When you don't use them for a while, they gotta get worked on and repair a couple days, work on and repair a couple days.
Yep. Yeah. That's what it hmm. It's like there's an expectation that it's supposed to be at a level. Unfortunately, it never can go above that level.
Oh,
Meaning it's like, oh, it was this good in the past. It can never get, that's like the goal is to get to that. It's like, well, yeah. And
wow.
to get
That's a
beyond.
big expectation because y'all have, as you got a little older, you've changed.
Right. Well, one can change. So, and one doesn't need to.
It's also
Oh,
limiting.
is that back to being right again?
Yep.
I hear you.
Control.
Kind of limiting in a way. It doesn't get any
Very,
better than that.
exactly. And then look outside for things to complain to. Blame, another word for.
Sounds like somebody's been sitting in their misery for a very long time and is not really willing to get out of it.
That's the opportunity. That wounding is deep. Yeah, and mommies and daddies, yeah. And what do we make up love is?
Comparing it to others instead of making our own.
Yeah. Yep. Making it our own. That would be scary. And a lot of hurt. So like pain, and pain for some people is anger. And I was a cause of a lot of that pain.
The word you say there was looking backward, cause of its history.
Yep. Only when you can let it go. Forgive is another word. It's the only way you move out of it. Otherwise, it'll just keep playing itself.
Well, one of the things that I have learned, one of the statements that has shown up recently is you are responsible for everything in your life. And to a certain degree, even if people are in a situation where they're in pain, they are participating as well. It's not just that somebody did something and it hurt me. They know kind of what's happening. And instead of being responsible for themselves and taking care of themselves, it's easier to say, well, you did this and now this is affecting me.
Yep.
But I'm not
Yep.
willing to tell you anything about it.
Yep. And that's always an opening. That's always the possibility. That's the great potential door that only one person can go through.
But you can only apologize so much. And then you kind of go, I've done what I can do. I'm doing different. You have
Yep.
to, if you can't let this go, then I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's what I've come to realize in my relationships.
Yep. It definitely does. It goes both ways. Yep. And both of them hold those tensions until there's forgiveness. So those patterns likely will resurface both ways until until it's resolved. Then it can be moved on. That's the danger of it. Playing with fire. There's always true intentions at the deepest level. They're just not always clear. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Sharing.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Been a great morning. Thank you all.
Yep. Really expensive today.
Mhm.
Expanding
Fascinating
the.
that goes between the silence and then we can be full of chatter. I love it.
Oh, I was loving the laughter that went with all that chatter,
Yeah, yeah.
looking at our silly foibles.
Yeah, that's all we can do is laugh at it. Then we can really see how silly it is. It is that insanity. It is insanity. when we allow ourselves to see it. It's like, you know, no one accepts that they're insane. Only when you
Oh,
do can you
but
start
we
to
do.
see it. Yeah, right. It's like, oh, now we really see how screwed up everyone else is.
And all
Just
right
because,
we are, and everybody is wrong.
that's right. Just because we saw it in ourselves.
Oh, shit. Back to square one. Eh?
Hell yeah, it's a damn circle. Enjoyed all the laughter. Yes. Until next time, guys.
You all have a
Okay,
blessed
Jesse.
day.
You guys
Yeah,
have a
have a
good
great day,
day.
guys.
Have a good
Yeah.
Enjoy.
evening.